According to the National Foundation for Credit Counseling survey that was conducted by the Harris poll, more than half of Americans do not have a budget. 2 in 5 carry credit card debt month to month with an average balance of about $6,500. And while lower income households are most likely to worry about paying for basic expenses, new research shows Americans face a serious debt dilemma regardless of how much money they make.
Welcome everybody back to another episode of Bowls on the Table, where it's time to eat with financial fundamentals. I'm your host, Chef Erol Pearl at DBCHEFTV. Make sure to like and share this video. Also, subscribe to the channel so when I go live, you never miss a meal. That was a lot. She said that over 50% of Americans do not have a budget, and it doesn't even matter of your income bracket. That's a very powerful amount of data. That's a very powerful assessment. So tonight, y'all, we are going to be discussing personal budget and budget discipline, because with data like that, I think that is necessary for all of us to desire to have more financial security. So hopefully this evening, remember, I am not a financial specialist. Always check with a finance professional, but I share these things because they interest me, and it's a part of my journey as well, having to keep my finances in order and have a budget and have budget discipline. So before we get into tonight's topics, we are going to see what's happening in the markets. So we got the Dow Jones today, y'all. We see that it closed like at 1%. It's still year over year, really at all-time highs, even with the 1% today. That was just the close today. Then we're gonna go ahead and check out the S&P. Very similar, 0.8, almost a whole point, but still at all-time highs. Considering the Nasdaq as well, closed today at about 1.25 points, but still all-time highs. So everyone's 401ks and IRAs and all of those things are, looking pretty spiffy right now. That's always a good thing. People like that. Let's go over and check out futures here. Let's check out what gold is doing. Gold relatively unchanged today. Shortly, just a little down from its all-time high in October. So it's looking like $4,000 is going to be pretty much the foundation of the new gold contract. I don't think it's going back below 4,000. I don't know. It may not. These things happen, but 4,000 is showing support. It's looking like the support level for gold. Let's check out silver. Silver was down, relatively unchanged, the same. And once again, year over year, silver's just down from its all-time high. It hit it twice. We had what they call a double top. So I think that's a good sign. Some people are calling for that to break out. Some people calling for a triple top maybe, but however, silver is looking like it's finding a home at $50. So it's looking like silver is going to be the $50 is going to be the basis for silver. And then we got crypto. We're gonna go over here real fast and check out Bitcoin. Bitcoin is down. But, Bitcoin always has these violent swings like this. So some may even say that this is a buying opportunity. I don't trade Bitcoin. You know, I'm a hodler. I bought some. I still have it. I'm holding on to it. And when it gets to a certain price that I feel like I want to sell it, I'm going to sell it. So I'm not trying to hold on to it forever. I know that the legislative process, you know, has been encouraged, and it's all types of moving parts in the whole crypto world and everything, between stable coins and altcoins and all of these other stuff. But for the most part, it could be a buying opportunity for some people, and some people who bought in when it was, you know, reaching all-time highs and they had FOMO, you know, hold your britches. That's all I'm gonna say. And that, I think, is gonna be it so far with what's happening in the markets. So let's go ahead and jump into tonight's first topic, personal budget. And to do that, we are going to head over to the Bose board, where it's time to eat, always with financial fundamentals. So our first topic tonight, y'all, is personal budget. Personal budget. And some people are like, damn, do I even make enough money to have that? Yes. I don't care how much money you make, you need to have a personal budget. Or how much money you have, you need to have a personal budget. So we'll go to our first question on personal budget. What is a personal budget? Pretty good question, right? What is it? For those who don't know, the data says that 50% of Americans don't have one. So is it because we don't know what one is? Or is it because people don't care? Or do you not like money? I don't know. You tell me. But what is a personal budget? Well, let's find out what it is. So, a personal budget is a spending, savings, and investment plan. Sounds pretty simple, right? A personal budget uses information about what you spent last month to make a plan about what you'll spend for future months. Having a personal budget keeps your spending in check and makes sure that your savings, investments, and wealth preservation are on track for the future. Personal budgeting helps you accomplish short and long-term financial goals, keeps you from overspending, and helps you maintain what I like to call financial security. So looking at a personal budget is spending, savings, and investment plan. Well, what is that? How much I spend, how much I save, and how much you invest. Some of us are just spending. We aren't saving anything. We aren't investing anything. Everything that comes in goes out. That's not good. That's going to make it difficult for you as you get older. Everyone. Okay? So that's why a personal budget is necessary. All right? A personal budget uses information, your information, about what you spent last month. So I got paid this month. I had all of these bills. I had all of these routine things. All right? I bought food. I bought shoes. I bought clothes. I went on a vacation. All of these things I did with the money that I made. Okay? So will I be able to do that next month? Will I be able to do that the following month? It all depends on what your plan is. Okay? So we're going to get into that as well. Having a personal budget keeps your spending in check and makes sure that your savings, investments, and wealth preservation are on track for the future. And why do we say on track for the future? Because you shouldn't be comfortable with being I had. You know, everybody knows people. We all know people that be like, remember when I had this? Remember when I had that? I don't encourage that. I like havers. I encourage people to be havers, not settle for when I had something. I remember when I had this, or I remember, but now you sitting around struggling, and you can't talk about what you're doing now. You can't share with other people, not just to talk about it, but share with other people so they can be able to benefit off of your growth as well. That's the significance of it. So I always recommend that if you're around people that talking about had all the time, you might want to change your friend group, because you hang around 10 people that's talking about they had, then you probably going to be a had person too, and not a haver. Personal budgeting helps you accomplish short, long-term financial goals, keeps you from overspending, and it helps you maintain financial security. Short-term goals. Anything that's a short-term goal, you name it, they all look different. Mine could be going on a vacation. That's a short-term goal. A long-term goal could be buying a new investment property. They differ. A long-term goal for someone may be going on a vacation. It may take them a little bit longer depending on how much they actually make. So you determine what your short and long-term financial goals are. And it keeps you from overspending, and helps you maintain what I like to call financial security. A lot of people call it financial freedom. I don't knock it. We have all these different names for different things in our culture and our society. But, I call it financial security because the goal is to not worry about money, because we always seem to, they say 50% of the people don't have a budget, but I'm sure 50% of the people are always worried about money. Okay. Moving right along to our second question. Why should you have a budget? Why should you? I'm glad you asked that question. Well, it forces you to take a close look at your spending habits. If I don't have a budget, then what am I doing? I'm just spending. I don't have any way to balance any balance. I'm just like, oh, I messed around and spent too much money. Oh, I did this. Oh, I did that. And I mean, unless you have a fairy godfather or fairy godmother, or you have a genie in a bottle, or somebody just, hands you money, whenever you notion for it, then taking a close look at your spending habits is going to be the first step in being able to set a budget for yourself. Okay. It helps you accomplish short and long-term goals. What do we just talk about? Short-term goals can be whatever. I want to buy a new vehicle. I want to go on a vacation. I want to, or I need to, let's say I need to purchase a new vehicle. All right. It could be a want or the need. It depends on what category it goes into. All right. But you're going to be able to define that and determine whether it is a short or long-term goal. Is it immediate? Is it something I can do right now? Long-term goal. I want to retire and not have to work. Long-term goal. Where you could be like, okay, well, what do I need to do now? So that way I will be in that position when I get to that point when I retire, whatever that is for you. So you have to set that early. All right. It keeps you from overspending. Overspending is one of the biggest things that people do. I remember early in my career in the military, I was I was like a habitual overspender. I mean, constantly. I used to live at the loan till payday places. And that was just because my lack of financial literacy, my lack of discipline, my lack of budgeting. I just used to overspend all the time. And because I never wrote down my spending, because I never made a budget, I never had a spending plan, a savings plan, an investment plan, a wealth building plan, because I didn't categorize it and put it like that for myself. I mean, it was constant robbing Peter to pay Paul, constant, um, well, I'm glad I got that paid. Now what we gonna do about this one? Well, I worry about that one when it comes. You know, I understand a lot of people come from that type of mindset, but that's raggedy, y'all. I'm just gonna tell you. You know, I came from that, and that's a place that I never want to be in my life, because I seen how difficult it was for the adults that were responsible for me, and I understood that, you know, as a child. So I had to as a young adult decide when I was going to actually change that for myself. All right. And overspending was one of those things that has helped prevent that, has helped me not have to feel that way, go through that, experience that anymore. You know, like I said, very early in my career, I was torturing my own self. Number 4, though, it helps you prepare for emergencies. Emergencies happen. You know, we don't know what things are going to happen. You know, some stuff just comes from anywhere. It depends on the amount of responsibilities you have. You may have a hospital emergency. You may have a vehicle emergency. You may have a home emergency. You know, you just don't know. They could come in any shape, form, or size. You know, so having what's called an emergency fund, we're gonna go over that, is one of those things that help you prepare for it. Okay. It makes saving and investing easier. Wow. Well, how does having a budget make saving and investing easier? Well, it makes saving and investing easier because I'm looking at everything. I'm calculating everything to the penny. Okay. Another story from my military career. When I was working in a capacity, my responsibility involved procurement, accounting, inventory management. And I remember one day I left work and I had just learned this new program that I was required to complete a monthly audit. And I was so excited and so proud of myself that I had learned this program. And this program was something that requires management of the account string to the penny. Okay. So here it was. I'm getting off of work. I think I was like my mid-20s. I'm getting off of work and I'm excited that I can manage my employer's money to the penny. But I'm driving to the payday loan place because I'm not managing my own money. So that was a wake-up call for me, you know, and in doing that, it allowed me to take that practice and apply it to my own personal finances. So that way, every single penny is accounted for. Once you do that and you commit that to yourself, now you are able to know what you're going to, what's allocated to your necessities, what you can allocate to your savings and to your investing. Because when you get it, the first thing you're not thinking is spending. The first thing you're getting the first thing you're doing when you receive your monies, your pay, however you receive money, is what can I do to make sure that if I don't get some again, that I won't be as affected. And these things require saving, and those things require investing as well. Okay. 6, it helps you pay off debt and stay out of it. Now, paying off debt is always good. Okay. But staying out of it is the trick that a lot of people have a struggle with. Okay. Now, we're not talking about good debt. Like if you have a mortgage, if you have an investment property, if you have business debt and you have a business that is generating income. All right. Those are good debt tools. All right. If you're using debt to invest into something that is going to give you a return. All right. If you buy a vehicle and then you use it as a ride share, because now you're writing off a lot of it. Okay. Those are good debts. Paying off the bad debt, you already know, the credit card. The credit card mindset. One of my videos, if y'all go back on the channel, it's called In Lieu of Cash. All right, watch that video. And in that video, I describe how instead of using your credit card, instead of looking at your credit card like, okay, I got paid $1,000 and now I have $1,000 on this credit card that I have $2,000. The discipline is I only have $1,000 and you're just going to use your card in lieu of the cash. The reason why people stay in debt and don't stay out of it is because they don't adopt that discipline. All right. You don't have $2,000. You have $2,000 to spend, but you're going to be $1,000 in debt at the end of it. But if I use the card in lieu of the cash and I don't spend the cash, then what I'm going to allow myself to do is increase my amount of credit over time. And that way you'll have access to credit, and then you'll have what's called a credit reserve. Personal credit. I like to call it a personal credit reserve, where you got a high balance on credit cards and you don't even have to use it if you don't need to. Okay. I'm going to have a video about that as well. But it allows you to stay out of debt. And why? Because you don't spend more than you have. You balance your budget within your means of what you have. You don't look at it as I have $1,000 on the credit card and I have $1,000 in cash, so I got $2,000. You will forever be in debt with that mindset. I promise you. 7, you can stop living from check to check. That's what we were just talking about, preparing for emergencies. We just saw the whole nation go through things like layoffs, benefits being cut for food assistance and things like that. We're continuing to see layoffs. I mean, just this year alone, I think there've been from private industries, from Apple to Microsoft to Tesla to, I mean, you name them. There've been huge, Amazon, huge layoffs. Okay. So a lot of those people, if they were living from check to check, then you can expect that they're going to have a hard time going forward if they are unable to find employment that compensated them at the same level, and or receiving unemployment and it isn't enough to cover the bills. So having a budget allows you to, if you come into a situation like that, you will be prepared. You don't have to be reactionary, other than buckling down on your budget and saying, hey, okay, let me revalue these numbers, reevaluate these numbers, and let me see what we got going on to make sure we'll be okay Granted, the situation is temporary or until we're able to supplement that income some way. All right, which means get more money, get some more money. All right. So, 8, that'll definitely reduce your financial stresses. Having a budget reduces your financial stresses. I'm telling you, I know for a fact, firsthand. Okay. When you can wake up and you know that you don't have to think about money, that is a blessing. Okay. And it's not difficult. You can do it because I started with zero. Literally with zero. Didn't get a big, sports contract. Did not get a, hit the lottery. Did not, did not go to school. And I'm not knocking these things. I'm just saying these people are, those people in these situations, have high incomes. So it may seem that it's easier for them to obtain what I call financial security. But, I don't agree with that, because we have seen culturally, socially, athletes, actors, people with degrees, professional degrees. We've seen them hit rock bottom because they didn't have financial discipline. They didn't have budget discipline. They didn't have financial literacy. Okay. So it doesn't take for you to be a millionaire to think like one, or a billionaire to think like one. You just have to start. And I promise you that anybody with some money, with like people like to call some real money, has a budget. Every single one. All right. Number 9, it fosters discipline and a healthier mindset about your money. Everybody say wealth is health. Health is wealth, right? You feel good when you got some money in your pocket. When you sitting around and you like, dang, I don't know if I'm gonna be able to do this. And man, the money ain't blah, blah, man, I need to get some money. And people plotting and scheming and huffing and puffing, and anxieties all through the roof, and people not knowing how they gonna eat and everything. But when you got a pocket full, or when you know you're gonna be okay, you feel a lot healthier. Your mind is at ease just a little bit more. And you can do this for yourself. Number 10, it will create a successful path to what I like to call financial security. Like I said, some people say financial freedom, but I say security, because you feel a lot more secure when you know that if emergencies come along, if there's an investing opportunity, if there's a goal that you are striving for, that you are making steps and accomplishing, you feel a lot more secure. You feel a lot more free. So I understand the financial freedom thing. You have your time, but you still have to invest your time into things like we doing right now. So moving on to our third question. How do I make a personal budget, and what's in it? Back to the Bose board. So the first thing we're going to do is we're going to make a list of needs, goals, and wants. That's the first thing we're going to do. Okay? And this should encompass housing. This is the rent or mortgage payments, property taxes, childcare costs, and things like home insurance. Okay. And a lot of people don't put childcare costs in housing. I do. Because when you have babies, if you don't have someone that is there to be able to watch your child for free, if you are unable to do it, then it is just like a mortgage payment. It is just like property taxes. It is just like home insurance, because you have to have it in order to be able to provide that property, that home, to be able to, pay them taxes and that insurance. So we got to make sure the babies are somewhere safe too, while mommy and daddy is doing that. So housing, utilities, electric, water, gas, trash, sewer, internet, phone bills, all of these things are reoccurring. I don't think that there's anyone right now without a phone bill. Okay. Some people may have been able to, I know I don't have, well, I do. I have sewer bill. It's wrapped up into certain things. Trash collection, I don't do that, but I do that myself. But internet, electricity, water, gas, all of these things we have to have. If you in a nice home, a nice condo, a small little apartment, a trailer, it don't matter. You're gonna have to have these utilities, and they're gonna be required to be paid consistently. Transportation, we have ride shares. If you have a car note, car payments, the insurance for that vehicle as well, auto insurance, the gas, the maintenance. If you ride the bus or the train, public transit fees. And then you have registration fees for your car, for your automobile or truck or whatever you have for your vehicle. All right. Food and groceries. This covers both store-bought groceries and money spent on dining out or deliveries. We got to eat, right? So allocating a certain amount of money to that. I even allocate money to how I eat. I have a certain diet that I adhere to. So I definitely have to be able to afford my budget. I have to have it budgeted in, so that way I can eat the certain things that I enjoy. Insurance, health, dental, vision, life, and disability insurance premiums. Okay? Everyone has to have health care, dental, vision, and I suggest that everyone have life insurance, at least a policy. Whether it's term or whole life, that's for you to decide. But if you out here with no life insurance, you are playing a dangerous game, because you are going to create a bill for your family, because it is not free to bury us. Okay? So it doesn't even matter if you have a huge policy. That's up to you, whatever you can afford, whatever your vision is for your loved ones. Once you transition, that's fine. However, make sure they can at least put you in the ground, okay? Or whatever your plan is for, postpartum. Number 7, debt payments, credit cards, student loans, personal loans, and medical bills. All right, it's a lot of young folks out here with student loans and credit cards. A lot of times young people go to college and they're going there, and their student loan is what allows them to, be in attendance at college, but then they get that credit card in the mail. And once they get that credit card in the mail and no financial literacy, a rocky road starts. Okay? So definitely having a budget, understanding what a budget is, understanding how to properly use your credit cards in lieu of cash. So that way you can build the balance, you can increase the balance on your card, not to go spend it all, but to be able to increase your credit to debt ratio. That's the significance of that. Okay? Personal loans, if you have them, you want to pay them off. Medical bills, they come and they go, but having some insurance helps with that. And that's one of them things we'll be talking about. I did say disability insurance, but health insurance as well. You want to have health insurance because when those medical bills come, man, it's great to have something there that helps with those. Savings and investments. Okay, so an emergency fund. You want to aim for like 3 to 6 months worth of your expenses. But how will you know what your expenses are if you don't make a budget? How will you know what your emergency fund should be if you don't sit down and put these things together and say, okay, this is what I need, what is required for me to afford myself? This is what is required to sustain the house. This is what we have to have regardless of anything. Even if we don't do A, B, C, D, E, but we have to do 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. We have to have that. That is necessity. If you don't do these things and make a budget and write it out or type it out, however you got to do, then you will never, ever know what your emergency fund is. So you won't be able to set the goal for the 3 to 6 month worth of expenses. Okay. When we look at general savings, you may use that as a vacation or a down payment. Okay. And when I look at general savings, this is how I look at general savings. I look at general savings as just that. Okay. It is just an account where you just put some money for some type of goal. So I may have an emergency fund and you never touch your emergency fund. You just add to it every now and then. But once you get to a comfortable amount that you think is fine, you can let it sit there. Okay. But then you have a general savings. So your general savings, like we said, a vacation, a down payment. I don't know, maybe you want to renovate your garage. Maybe you want to, things like that, do something, add a gazebo in your backyard or something like that. Okay. Even to a vacation, or you want to make a down payment on a new car or a home. Okay. Then that's where that money should be. And people are like, wow, so I should have, so then what do I do with the emergency savings? You leave it there. You don't touch it. You don't say, okay, in my general savings, I got $10,000, 20,000, 30, whatever your number is. Okay. But I have 30,000 in my emergency fund. But it's going to cost me 15,000 to make this down payment for this car or to go buy this vehicle cash. Okay. So I'm going to take 5 from the emergency fund. No, you don't. You wait. It's called discipline. It's called patience. Because if it's an emergency, then it's an emergency. You waited to put that $10,000 together. What's wrong with waiting a little bit longer to get that other 5 to be able to get that vehicle or whatever it is that you desire? Okay. Having a budget allows you to do that. Retirement contributions. You may have a 401k or IRA. With the budget, a lot of times people's incomes, they have a contribution to their 401k pre-taxes. I always say to everyone, Roth it. Okay. Go ahead and pay the tax now, because We are not locked in a fixed income tax bracket. All right. Income taxes are not fixed. They increase over time. So, when you add more money to it, the income tax goes up. So who knows when you're going to be ready to pull that and you never paid taxes on it before. You put yourself in a situation with these deferred products where you'll be looking at a certain amount of money, and then you'll have to have the mindset when it comes of, well, at least I got this. You don't have to be a, well, at least I got this type of person if you understand what deferred is and you go ahead and Roth it and you pay your taxes. So that way, when you get there to the end, what you got is what you get. Okay. Number 9, healthcare, medical, out-of-pocket, copays, prescription medications. Definitely prescription medications, out-of-pocket expenses, copays, things like that. We have to pay all of these things when we go and see the doctor. So having a budget allows you to be able to allocate those funds, especially if you have prescription medications, or if you are, you have doctor visits that require regular visits and things like that, and you have a copay. Okay, remember I said, y'all, to the penny. To the penny. Don't get lazy on your own self. Don't get lazy on your own finances. Because that's who you cheating. You only cheating yourself. You the one who gonna hurt. And the other people depending on you. Personal spending and lifestyle, clothing, hairstyle, hygiene products, memberships, hobbies, and streaming services. Okay. Having a budget allows you to allocate for all of those things. I'll give you an example. Clothing, for me, I have a clothing company, www.dbcheftv.com. Y'all hit the gift shop link. And clothing is not one of those things that is a necessity as far as new clothes for me. Okay. Hygiene products, definitely a necessity. But I tend to buy them in bulk, so that way I make one purchase and they last me for a while. I do that with things like toothpaste, soap, and so on. Okay. It's just a method I use. That way, that money that's allocated, that's in my budget, I can take that money. So let's say if I got to buy all my hygiene products, I'm low. So let's say if I say, okay, well, I need to spend, it's going to cost me about $250 to get all of my hygiene products. All right. So I'll take that $250 and spend, because remember, I buy in bulk. So I'll take that $250 and I'll spend it. And then I will divide that over the next 5 months. And then I'll take that $50 that I would have spent over the next 5 months. And now I'll put it into the savings account and then go invest it. Okay. So that's what I do, things like that. You spend the $250 now, but over the next few months, I break it down. I won't, and then once it repeat, I rinse and repeat. Okay. Memberships. Everybody having a budget, I know that it allows us for gym memberships and any club memberships that you may have, things like that. It allows you to be able to see where you're spending your money and can I remove some of these things? Do I need this gym membership and this? Do I need to be at this, not an advertising for them, but do I need to be at LA Fitness and Gold's Gym? Do I need to be at both? Can I just work with Goals? Can I just work with LA? All right. Hobbies. Having a budget allows you to allocate money to your hobbies. You may be somebody who likes to golf. Well, that membership at the club, at the golf club, it costs. Depends on if you're on a fixed income or if you're, or it doesn't matter whether the income is fixed or you making it as you go. You still have to allocate for it. Streaming services, trust me, I know, like right now, wow. I know I just cut some streaming services in 2023. So I had to reduce some and really I wasn't using them. So I just reallocated those funds and rerouted them to an investment. Okay. Miscellaneous, irregular or unexpected expenses like gifts for birthdays, holidays, or charitable donations. Okay. Having a budget, you should have your money in certain places where you know exactly what you have to spend. Okay. Whether that be in a savings account, a checking account, brokerage account, whether it's high interest, it doesn't matter. Okay. You should be able to see that and know this. So when the birthday is coming up, you should already know, okay, I'm gonna be able to pull this money out of here. But if you're not doing that, if everything is in the same account and you don't have a budget, you aren't going back to like in school, like the checkbook ledger. You don't have a ledger where you're deducting things as you allocate it, as you spend that money. Then it's things like that cause you to be like, oh wow, I overspent. And then you just have to say, oh well, it's a holiday, it's the birthday, I don't care, whatever. But it keeps you having to go back and forth that whole cycle because you won't stick to the budget. Charitable donations, you can allocate for that. Let's say you have a reoccurring donation every single month. You want to send $10 to, the what they call it, the Blue Cross Blue Shield, or or your local charity if it's church, whatever it is. All right, having a budget allows you to be able to do that with ease and comfort. All right. Our first thing to do was to make a list of our needs, goals, and wants. Let's see what that looks like. Okay. So this would be needs, goals, and wants right here. Housing, utilities, transportation, food and groceries, insurance, healthcare, savings, investments, and wealth preservation. And we ask, what are needs? Needs are essential expenses required for survival and basic living. Those are your needs. Essential expenses required for survival and basic living. When you say balling out of control, we saying making sure you have food, clothing, shelter, some health care, and a way to preserve it. Okay. Then we say goals. And why did I not put needs, wants, and goals? Why is it goals first? Because the wants should be the last thing. The needs are always first. And where we want to go to be better, what we want to do, why we doing it. That should always be the second step. The goal, to get to the goal. Okay? So whether your goals are to increase your emergency savings fund, to pay off debt, to improve your credit score so you can make that purchase or whatever it is that you're trying to do with that, to fund a vacation, to save for retirement or maybe your child's education. trying to get them that college savings account so that way when they get there, they got something. They don't have to go into debt. To pay off your student loans, a down payment on a home, or just to be secure and confident about your personal finances. Even if that's the goal right there, just to be secure and confident about your personal finances. That you know when you look in the mirror, you like, or when something comes up, you like, okay, I'm good. I gotta move some, I gotta check in the savings, you know. But we're gonna be okay. We just gotta move some stuff around. And what do these goals do? Goals help you stay motivated, track progress, and make intentional decisions with your money, influencing your future by shaping your financial actions today, right now. You can start today. Okay? Get motivated about your money. It's your pockets. You know, I'm going to do what I need to do for mine. You better do what you need to do for yours. Then we talking about our wants. Dining out, streaming services, unnecessary clothing, high-end electronics, new cars when your car's perfectly fine. These are all wants. Okay? Because you can live without streaming services. We don't need Prime and what's the other one? Netflix. We can have one. You know, we don't need to dine out all the time. You know, we can cook. Don't need unnecessary clothing. I have one body and I'm not going anywhere. I don't have nowhere to go. Okay? And most of the time, people that have professional careers, you know, they are either mostly in uniform or they have a set of clothing that is their work attire. Okay. High-end electronics. I don't need the new iPhone. I don't need it. It may be a want, but I don't need it. I know I had an iPhone 4S for 12 years before I upgraded to the phone I have now. And it was working fine when I upgraded. Okay? Wants are non-essential expenses that enhance your lifestyle, but are not required for survival or basic functioning. You know? Feel good about being out on the town. You feel good about them new shoes. You know, you might feel good about, the iPhone or that car because somebody else see you in it and they think you don't have a car note and a high-ass insurance bill trying to maintain it. But that's not required for survival or basic functioning. So, this is what it looks like right here. An example. Your needs, your goals, your wants may be different, but you won't know until you put it together and put it on paper and put it in front of you and start to make a plan to maintain it and accomplish it. Moving to our fourth question tonight. And the second part of our topic discussion, what is budget discipline? Okay. Budget discipline. Budget discipline is making an on-purpose decision to consistently stay within or under budget of your spending habits and requires ongoing effort to track your income, expenses, manage debt, avoid wasteful spending, and maintain financial security while achieving financial goals. Budget discipline, y'all. Making an on-purpose decision to consistently, you know what consistency is? You know, people can consistently do a lot of things. You know, you can consistently stay in debt. You can consistently, you know, do bad stuff. You can consistently do good things too. All right. So understanding what consistency is continuously doing it. But it's on purpose. Okay. People do a lot of things on purpose that don't benefit them. But budget discipline is making an on-purpose decision to consistently stay within or under budget of your spending habits. Okay? And this is ongoing. You never stop. Once you start this, you never stop. You'll fall in love with it, trust me. It's good knowing you can do some of the things that you want to do when you feel like doing it. But without a budget, that's impossible. I promise you. And I know everybody's probably asking now this question right here. How do you practice budget discipline? It's a great question. I'm glad you asked. So heading back to the Bowls board again with the keys to budget discipline. The first thing we're going to do is acknowledge that you deserve financial security with your money by making a list of your needs, goals, and wants. That's the first thing you got to do. You got to acknowledge that you deserve financial security. Not what I'm telling you to do, not what I'm suggesting. I'm just sharing it because it feels good to me. Do you remember that Tony Tone song? It feels good. It feels good to me. But I had to acknowledge that I deserve that for myself first. And I'm saying you have to look yourself in the mirror and say, I'm messing up with my money. I don't like this. I want to be financially secure. I need to make a budget. I need to make a list of my needs, goals, and wants, and I need to stick to it. 2, next, we're going to create a realistic budget using your income and expenses. A realistic budget, okay? We're not going to fantasize. We can put the fantasies in the want column just to see it on paper, just to, you know, sometimes my mother used to have us do vision boards where you write out things that you desire, you know, and then you go accomplish it. So use your one as that. You can get that. Trust me, I'm living in one right now. But using your income and the things that you're required to pay, your expenses, your spending, okay? Those are the things that are essential to your budget, because that's what you're working with. Three, you're going to want to set a clear financial goal. Okay? Clear financial goal. Set a clear one to yourself. My needs, I'm going to, this is the language you tell yourself, I'm going to make sure that my needs are met no matter what. my needs. Whatever these things are in this need box, there is no compromising. I can't help nobody else. I can't do anything else if my needs aren't met. Okay? Then I'm going to have my goals. These goals are just some things that I want to get to. Like we said, even if it's just saying I want to be a better steward of my finances. Okay, I want financial security for myself, even if that's a goal. Anything else you put there, make them realistic. Put them right there. And then you can have your wants as your wish list. Once I get these things done, my needs and my goals, then I'll entertain some of my wants. And I'm doing that right now. You know, on my wants, I want that new Lexus truck, that GX 550. I'm gonna get it. But right now, I'm meeting my needs. I got some goals that I'm after. And once I finish accomplishing those goals that I have made clear to myself, oh yeah, I'm gonna get my truck. But I'm not a car note person. So that's a set, clear financial goal. I don't like car notes. Okay. I had a bad experience with car notes. My granddaddy taught me not to have a car note because I didn't have the financial literacy, because I didn't have the discipline, because I didn't know how to budget, because I didn't have budget discipline and educational interest rates and all of these other things that come along with vehicle ownership. I had a whole decade of spiraling into rolling over loans and things and stuff like that. Finally, I think it was about maybe 2018 or so. Maybe 2017, I'm not sure. Maybe 2015. I think it was 2015, maybe. You know, I got out of car notes. I got back out of car notes. I was like, no, never again. Okay? So if I'm in it, I own it. All right? That was a financial goal for me. To not have car notes. Okay? It's a personal preference. Everybody's financial goals will be uniquely yours. But the way you get to them is making that list of your needs, goals, and wants and having a budget. And they have to be clear, okay, to you. 4, we're going to monitor our spending. Monitor your spending regularly to ensure that you're staying within your budget. What does that mean? If I order something off of Amazon, if I order something from Walmart, if I order something from Target, if I order something from if I go out and I swipe my card at the grocery store, what am I going to do when I come home? I'm probably going to eat. I'm probably going to open my stuff up and have fun with it or whatever. But at some point in time, I am going to go log on. I'm going to notate what I just spent in my online account and whatever account that I'm using to spend money from. Maintaining my ledger. If I'm not paying attention or monitoring to what I'm spending, then it's very easy for you to go over your budget, and it's very easy for you to maintain debt, to keep yourself in debt. Number 5, I want to pay myself. Pay yourself first before paying bills or spending on things. Set aside a portion of your income for savings and investments. Okay. If you don't have a budget, you can't pay yourself first. If you don't have budget discipline, you can't pay yourself first. It's impossible. And the reason why it's impossible is because When you get that money, it's pretty much already spent. So you're in a position where you can't pay yourself first. You just happy to get things paid. That's a horrible feeling, y'all. I know about it. I know about it. Trust me. Like it's not a feeling that I recommend for anybody to have. But having a budget and having budget discipline, I promise you, you will feel a lot better. Okay? And you won't have that problem. Prioritize paying down debt in your budget. This is a critical part of financial discipline that will save you money on interest. Everybody know all these debts that we have, it's interest. Them credit cards, they charge an interest. Why you think when you make a payment and you like, damn, I just made a payment, but you just keep on charging stuff on it and it don't never be paid off? And I tell you a key, when you make the decision to pay the debt of your credit card, cut it up. If you don't have enough discipline to have a $2,000 credit card and you charge it up to $1,500, $1,700, $1,800, and then you put $300 on it, but then you charge up another $4 or $5, and then you put $250 on it, and like if that's the way you doing, I've been there, y'all. I did that. Okay. Then just cut it up. Don't close it. Just cut it up. Okay? But don't close it. You just want to pay it down. You can always call and order a new card. It's very simple. But these things will help you if if you're having trouble helping yourself, other than to just spending it. Build an emergency fund that helps you handle unexpected expenses without derailing your budget or going into debt. Talking about that emergency fund for them unexpected things. All right. It's good to have that. So that way, when your new check, if I have an emergency fund, and let's say something happens, okay, something with your home, something with your vehicle, something happens, then guess what? I can say, well, you know what? Yeah, I'm going to receive whatever my income is. But guess what? I don't even have to worry about that. I can just go ahead and dip into this emergency fund and take care of the situation. I could put it back when I get my fund, when I receive my pay or whatever monies I have coming to me. I could put it back. Or depending on the level of the emergency, I may be able to have it allocated where it was part of the allocation that was going to go into the emergency fund. And I'll just say, okay, so this month I have to allocate this to this unexpected thing. But I still don't have to touch the emergency fund. So that money's still just sitting there. And then the following month, what? I can go back to allocating that to my budget. So it's a substitute. It's not a derail. It's just saying I have options. Okay? But one thing I didn't have to do was what? Go into debt. And then 8, last but never least, avoid temptation like impulse buys driven by emotions and stick to your budget plan no matter what. No matter what, stick to your budget plan. Okay? And I have a rule when it comes to my budget plan. Okay. It doesn't matter what the person calls me with. I don't care what you call me with. Unless it's life or death. Unless it's a matter of somebody being homeless. Unless it is it's really like, that's it, life or death or homeless, and I have to, I have to have that type of love for you. I'm not breaking my budget for nobody. For no one. And that's just because I can't afford to. Like, no pun intended, but seriously, like, you can't afford to. Because when you begin to compromise your needs, goals don't get achieved. And the goal is always to keep your needs met, from my perspective. So, heading back to the Bose boards one more time, just a recap tonight of what we discussed: personal budgeting and budget discipline. I hope everybody enjoyed tonight's show. Some of the things that were shared were beneficial to you and resourceful. So let me know what you think in the comment sections. I always respond. Also, y'all, right now at DBCHEFTV, we got 15% off at the gift shop. Don't forget to hit the website, www.dbcheftv.com, for our newsletter. We're trying to get to 1,000 subscribers, so that way we can begin to share this newsletter with y'all. That's going to have wonderful things in there. I've really been working on some stuff, so we're just trying to get it up to snuff, so that way we can start sharing it with you all. We want everybody to have a peaceful, positive, and productive rest of your week. It is Tuesday. Tomorrow is midweek. And remember that it's always time to eat with financial fundamentals right here at Bowls on the Table. And until next time, peace.
This whole publication is all about going from nowhere to somewhere, right? Being able to stand on something so that you can travel in peace, right? So bksoulfarm.com, 1016-160 self-sustainability. Jump on the list and get yourself together, right? Because it is irresponsible to not even know what responsibility means. So get yourself together: food, clothing, and shelter, protection of that, support your interests, and live.
Some say that art imitates life, but we say that life is art. So visit the DBCHEFTV gift shop and get 15% off of your next masterpiece of fashion. How do you get there? Simply tap the link in the description. At the Veteran Kettle Podcast, we thank you for your service, support, and sacrifice to our country. Listen to real stories of adversity and triumph as we give our best to honor our vets. Subscribe today and watch episodes now streaming on YouTube at TVK Podcast, The Veteran Kettle. If it's Friday night and you don't have a date, then brunch with the fellas is your spot, so don't be late. We go up at 9 p.m. with the trending topic news. Smash the like, comment, subscribe, and share the content. Don't be rude. At Brunch Fellas, now streaming on YouTube. Love ain't always easy, and we won't stop until we get it right. So bring that ass to the Love Speak Podcast. Subscribe today and let your love speak at TLS Podcast. The Love Speak, now streaming on YouTube. Exchange insights Sundays at 8 p.m. East Coast time with the Cigar Panel, smoking on words like two big nerds, hosted by DBCHEFTV and BK Soul Farm at Cigar Sundays on YouTube. Subscribe and hit the notification bell so when they go live, you never miss an episode of Cigar Sundays Live. Sign up for the newsletter and shop merch and clothing at www.dbcheftv.com.